You might often hear people talking about ESG these days. What does ESG mean? Here's a brief introduction to guide you through the relevant concepts. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Corporate Governance, and evaluates a firm on its environmental, social, and corporate governance factors. The environmental factor analyzes a company's environmental footprint and the impact of its operations on the environment, including aspects such as carbon reduction, waste management, and compliance with environmental regulations. The social factor investigates a company's relationships with its employees, suppliers, customers, and other stakeholders, focusing on critical issues like human rights, workplace safety, diversity, and inclusion. The corporate governance factor examines a company's governance structure in terms of transparency and independence, including board structure, the reporting of breaches, executive compensation, and many other aspects. In short, ESG is a set of evaluation criteria that raise the company's sustainability from a comprehensive perspective. The macrosystem is closely linked with environmental, social, and economic factors in this ever-changing world. These factors increase the uncertainty in the global situation, and the financial markets are no exception. Of course, investors want to mitigate uncertainties from those factors as far as possible, and ESG investment provides them with a new way to accomplish this. ESG investment can help investors better assess and mitigate risks and seek long-term investment opportunities that are good for themselves and the society. Although the concept of ESG only emerged in recent years, the development of sustainability awareness has a long history. In the 1970s, socially responsible investing (SRI) started to gain attention. The first sustainable mutual fund was launched during this period, and the media also published a list of socially responsible stocks for investors' reference. Later, in the 1980s, corporate social responsibility (CSR) attracted official attention, and governments and unions started legislating on CSR. Legal requirements were established to reduce environmental impacts, focusing on environment, health, and safety. In the 1990s, the concept of sustainability finally went global. A global call to action for environmental protection to go beyond legislation was initiated during this period. From the 2000s, the principles governing impact reporting and responsible investment grew more comprehensive. On the way of enthusiasm for sustainable investing, the concept of CSR evolved into ESG. Since the 2010s, ESG has been a mainstream element for sustainable investment. More and more investors are concerned about ESG scores and reports when they make investment decisions. At the same time, companies are more eager to allocate resources to ESG projects and disclose their ESG reports to investors. To quantify companies' ESG performance, institutions have constructed various ESG ratings and indexes to provide investors with a quantitative measure. One of the most famous ESG rating is the S&P Global Corporate Sustainability Assessment, CSA. CSA analyzes companies' disclosures, media coverage, stakeholder analysis, and company engagement to calculate weighted average ESG scores, ranging from 0 to 100. 0 is the worst performer in ESG, and 100 is the best performer. Another well-known rating is the MSCI ESG ratings. MSCI adopts a role-based methodology to measure a company's resilience to long-term and significant ESG risks. The MSCI ESG rating assesses a company's competitiveness with industry peers to determine whether it is a leader or a laggard in the industry. The advantage of relative comparison is that some companies, due to their industrial nature, like oil companies, are more harmful to the environment. If a rating does not take into account of industrial effect, it could make investors harder to recognize efforts by the companies. The MSCI rating scale spans from AAA to CCC, where AAA represents the best performing firms in the industry. Aside from well-known global ESG ratings, Hong Kong also has its own local ESG rating standards. The Hang Seng Index Company has appointed an independent assessment body, the Hong Kong Quality Assurance Agency, HKQAA, to evaluate the ESG performance of Hong Kong-listed and A-shares companies. Assessments include 7 core subjects: environment, human rights, labor practices, fair operating practices, consumer issues, community involvement and development, and corporate governance. The rating scale spans from A, meaning that the company has implemented ESG risk management with sustained results, through BB- to D, where it indicates that the company is vulnerable to ESG risks. Aside from its rating scores, the HKQAA sustainability rating can be used to formulate several indexes for investors as an investment reference. For example, the best-in-class indexes are formulated by first screening company based on market capitalization and liquidity, then ranking eligible companies according to their sustainability performance scores, and finally compiling a list of constituent companies. Another type is the ESG Tilt Weighted Index. This index is calculated by adjusting the constituent weights of the underlying index using tilt factors, which are based on ESG scores. In the ESG Tilt Weighted Index, the weighting of the constituents with high and low ESG scores is tilted up and down, respectively, to reduce the track and error arising from the integration of ESG into the existing portfolio. The Chinese University of Hong Kong also strives to popularize the significance of ESG by leveraging its expertise and professionalism. The Center for Business Sustainability, CBS, helps companies to recognize a CSR-centric future through research and knowledge transfer. The CUHK-CBS holds events such as conferences and webinars to discuss and share knowledge on ESG-related topics. The center is also dedicated to research and has published several sustainability indexes based on the regions and scales of business. Let's look further at how companies are engaging in ESG activities. Today, I would like to highlight 3 companies that have made significant contribution to ESG. Microsoft is not only a linchpin due to its high financial and industry positions, and also takes the lead in ESG rankings. Various ESG rating agencies have recognized Microsoft's contribution to ESG. For example, Sustainalytics views the company as a top ESG performer. The Dow Jones Sustainability Index is included as a member, and MSCI gave it the top ESG rating, the AAA. Microsoft has secured such high ESG ratings because of its sustained efforts in various ESG dimensions. By developing an innovative business model, the company has cut energy consumption, reduced its physical footprint, protected local communities, and produced sustainable products. For example, the company has been carbon neutral since 2012 and continues to try to reduce its carbon footprint by refining its operations. Recently, Microsoft has just invested $50 million in artificial intelligence to accelerate innovation. The next company that I want to talk about is Samsung. Unlike Microsoft, a company with a long-standing reputation in ESG, Samsung Electronics previously received a low ESG rating of BBB from MSCI due to the concerns around working conditions and business ethics. However, with the growing awareness of sustainability, Samsung strives to improve its ESG performance. To strengthen its corporate governance, Samsung assigned an independent director as the chairman of the board of directors and reinforced the board's ESG management function. Not only that, the company also enhanced its performance in the social factor by improving the disclosure of human resources management, including employee training, compensation, and labor management relations through compiling ESG performance indicators. As a result, Samsung elevated its MSCI ESG ratings from BBB to A the very next year. The last example that I want to discuss is a local company, Hang Seng Bank. The Hong Kong ESG Reporting Awards, HERA, is one of the most sought-after ESG awards in Hong Kong. The award is given to companies that displays the best corporate sustainability in Hong Kong. Hang Seng Bank won 2 major awards, Best ESG Report Large Cap and Best Global Reporting Initiative GRI Report in 2021. Hang Seng Bank has made great efforts in all 6 ESG key pillars, from achieving environmental targets and managing climate risk to promoting sustainable finance, helping youth, raising social awareness, and publishing robust disclosure. Apart from large companies, many small and medium enterprises in Hong Kong are also actively promoting ESG development. Seed, a local shop in Sai Kung, sells non-packaged products that require customers to bring their own containers to the shop. The shop recycles containers from the neighborhood and resells them to the customers. The products sold at Seed are all environmentally friendly, and most of them are sourced from local producers. Seed aims to create synergy with the community to improve the society and the environment. Donut Official is a Hong Kong-based bag producer that uses environmentally friendly materials. The company only works with manufacturers and suppliers that also appreciate the value of sustainability. ESG is a growing trend, and I hope that this video has helped you learn more about it. Thank you for watching. See you again in the following video.